The Indian Mojo Show!
Welcome, gamers, to the next generation of the Jacked Up Indian Mojo Show. As always, I'm Mojo Monkey 12, along with Jack Gardner and Daniel Jones. No guest this week, but we'll survive. Just stick with us. And we have lots of great topics, including the next generation of consoles. So sit back, enjoy, and laugh at our shenanigans, and be sure to donate to your favorite charity this week. Fellas, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm good.
Both still living the freelance life?
You betcha.
And what little of it there is.
So, Daniel, have you been finding some time to play some games this week amidst all your freelance work?
Yeah, I have. I have indeed. I got DMC Devil May Cry,
Nice.
and I love that game.
You should try the new one.
I should, you're right. No, really. The original Devil May Cry was one of my favorite games back when it came out in 2001. I have great memories of playing that game. And now this one, I really had kind of fallen out of love with that franchise, especially when I played 4. I was just like, oh, I'm so done with this. So,
How far into it are you?
I have actually finished it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you going to review it for the Game Effect?
No, somebody else had already reviewed it. So, the next game I'm going to play, I pre-ordered Aliens Colonial Marines, and I'm going to review that. I'm excited for that. But yeah, DMC is just, it captures exactly what I liked about the first one. It's easy to control. It's very simple to just switch between weapons and feel like you're really accomplishing a lot and you're getting some awesome combos in, even though you're really not mashing a ton of buttons. It's just great controls, and that's what I loved about the first one. So, I love it. Play it.
Jack, have you played it?
I haven't. I'm not a huge Devil May Cry fan.
I downloaded the demo. I have a funny Devil May Cry story, by the way, I'll share. But I downloaded the demo, but I haven't played it yet.
That was rich. That was great.
No, when Dylan was in first grade, for Mother's Day, did this thing where he had a very ambitious first grade teacher. It was her first year of teaching. I volunteered in the class a lot because I didn't go to work 11:30 those years. I was there probably 3 or 4 mornings a week. And yeah, this teacher was cute. But, so this was really embarrassing and adorable at the same time. On Mother's Day, they had all the moms come in and all these kids sat down and read their books to him. Well, his teacher had him do a book for me, which I didn't know about. And at the time I was playing Devil May Cry. He talks about, like, one of my dad's favorite things to do, and he said Devil May Cry like 5 times throughout this book. And all these moms looking at me like, what kind of evil person are you? And like the teacher's like horrified. Like it's a video game, and like it was just really awkward.
That's awesome.
I love that.
So, the original, then.
No, Devil May Cry 4, I said.
Oh, sorry. See, I didn't like 4. It was... there was way too many, like, repeated boss battles, which the first one had tons of. Like, there were tons of boss battles you had to fight over and over. And then, just, like, going through the same areas multiple times, I was just so done with it, and the story did not interest me at all.
Well,
and this one,
the
story is stupid, but it's actually really interesting and entertaining.
Devil May Cry game I played, and I was still a pretty new gamer at that time, so I didn't know any better. Daniel, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should.
I apologize. But anyway, I'll play the demo for the new one and see if I can. What else have you played?
That's about it. That's it.
You played Ni no Kuni?
I haven't.
Jack, have you?
Nope.
Oh, you have to at least download the demo. That game is amazing.
There is a demo?
There is on PSN. I don't know about live.
It's only on PlayStation.
That would make sense. It's only on PS. Well, yeah, there is a demo. Amazing game. I'm going to buy it as soon as I can.
Yeah, level 5 and Studio Ghibli.
Can't go wrong with that. But the game itself is really awesome. And, of course, the art and sound is beautiful. So.
All right, so here's my question. You know I don't like JRPGs.
Yeah. But you like artistic games. I think you would like it.
Well, that's my that's my question. Is the gameplay really complicated? Like, is there...
Not in the demo. Just try the demo.
I look at screenshots of the battle system, and there's, like, all these stats lining the sides of the screen, and, like, all this stuff going on, and I'm just overwhelmed, and I'm just like, I don't want to deal with any of that. It's not my cup of tea. So I'll play the demo and see. Maybe I'll be able to do it.
I don't want to give you any preconceived notions, so just try the demo.
All right. All right, I will.
That would be my suggestion. So, Jack, if you haven't played Ni no Kuni this week, what have you been doing?
I haven't really been playing all that many games. I've been pretty busy the last few days, tracking down interviews for freelance work, and also going to a Super Bowl party my friends were having, and just working on various projects. This week I feel like I just all of a sudden had a lot more work to do than I thought I did.
Favorite Super Bowl commercial, Jack?
I can't really tell you my favorite one. I didn't really see any that I really liked, but I thought that the GoDaddy commercial was just the worst thing.
Really? That's hilarious.
Oh, man.
Because I recognize that guy from like 10,000 different TV shows and movies and whatnot. Daniel, your favorite Super Bowl commercial? Besides the Stevie Wonder.
I really liked the God Made a Farmer one.
Heck yeah, that's my favorite. That was awesome.
It wasn't funny, but it was a great commercial.
My grandma always listened to Paul Harvey, so it was like, as soon as I heard that voice, I was like, oh my gosh. So,
yeah,
I thought it was a great commercial, too.
Yeah.
Good job on Dodge.
Yeah. Actually, Ram.
Whatever.
Same thing, I'm kidding. It was a joke. What? So you haven't been playing any games this week, Jack?
I've been playing League of Legends a little bit,
Okay.
but nothing.
Are you finished with Dark Souls, then?
Am I finished with what?
Dark Souls?
No. My friend Corey was sick, so we couldn't get together to record some more Digibros.
All right.
But fear not, dear Jeremy. We will soldier on through that game.
In a little bit. Because that's one game we've never really got to talk about on this show. And that's kind of like my journey.
Really?
I love that game. I absolutely love it. I said if it would have come out last year, I would have argued for that to be Game of the Year over Mass Effect 3. Which truly was the Game of the Year. Anyway.
Well, we make a lot more progress in future episodes of Digibros, so...
Okay, well that's good to know.
Yeah, there aren't any more entire episodes where you just stay in one spot and die over and over.
And retreat away from your enemies for 45 minutes, and then smack them, and then retreat, and then smack them. And
you were nice to pick up a bow and arrow. You need one of those early on for some ranged attacks.
We never pick up a bow and arrow. We have it, we just don't use them.
Oh, well, I didn't really watch to see if you used it, but I saw that you were discussing whether or not to buy it from the creepy merchant.
Yep.
And I voted yay. Oh, you ended up getting a crossbow. Crossbows suck.
Yeah. Not a huge fan.
Yeah. But anyway. I could talk about that game, so I won't.
No, let's talk about that game.
Okay, that's
fine. What is the appeal of that game? Is it the hardcore, like, doesn't hold you by the hand nature of it? Is it the difficulty? Is it the world? What is it? Because I look at it and I see generic fantasy, I see extremely difficult and frustrating, and I see nothing like leading me or like there would be nothing to really make me want to keep playing.
So everybody says the same thing about masturbation, but everybody does it. I can't explain it. It's just awesome.
All right.
About the game, by the way.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but when I masturbate, I usually put a nice story to it.
Oh my goodness.
In this.
Let's back away from this analogy slowly.
I think it's just you get really ticked off because you don't know what you're doing at first, at least in my experience. And then the sense of satisfaction when you finally prevail just is so amazing that you just keep driving forward. At least that was my sense. And no, it does seem like a very generic story, but if you take the time to listen to all the characters, the few that they are, and to read the lore that you can come across, it's actually got a but it's got a pretty deep backstory.
All right.
But yeah, for all intents and purposes, it should be a crappy game. The combat isn't that great. It's pretty brutal. It's not graphically extremely impressive. It's frustrating. It's angering, but it's done. It does all that for me just perfectly.
To add to that, I guess I would say that what really interests me about Dark Souls is that it offers a really unique experience. For example, one of the monsters that you encounter later on is like basically a giant wolf with a sword
in
its mouth, and it fights you. Where else are you going to see that? Where else are you going to fight a wolf with a giant sword in its mouth?
And they're on the opposite side of Okami, not ever.
Exactly, and like there have just been numerous times where I've been playing through it and just stopping and saying, where else would I see something like this? And each location kind of is very unique. And you might think that it has kind of a generic art style, but regardless of that, every place you go to in that game is very memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't when you go to a new place and then you talk about the game with someone else who's played it, you can say, "Oh yeah, in the Firelink Shrine, with the giant raven." They instantly know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's no question. And once you progress far enough, like beyond being able to use the fire, whatever they're called, the revival spots, warp points, some of them, the whole world will open up together so you can travel pretty quickly. It's awesome.
And the other thing is just the aspect of discovery is really strong in Dark Souls, because it literally doesn't hold your hand at all. It doesn't tell you even the slightest what you're supposed to do, really. Like, after the tutorial, it drops you off in the middle of nowhere and says, "Hey, go ring these bells." Yeah, oh, okay. And then you're off.
Yeah, it gives you a general idea of how to equip your shield, and then you're pretty much on your own.
And so, with just that starting knowledge, it's all discovering new things and better ways to do, better ways to fight, better ways to tackle different situations, and it's very satisfying. It's really hard and it's unforgiving, but once you know how to do something, it becomes a lot easier to do it.
All right.
Beyond that, I can't really say. It's just a very satisfying experience of growth that's not necessarily in the game. It's just growth of your own personal knowledge.
Right. But it's that satisfaction of finally beating a boss that has kicked your ass like a million times.
Yeah, there's no cutscenes, there's no anything. It's just pure gameplay.
Right.
Exactly. It's that satisfaction of overcoming that boss, and almost every situation that you find yourself in is overcoming a challenge of that magnitude almost.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe I will give it a shot sometime. It's cheap enough now anyway, so.
Yeah, it's definitely worth trying, but you do got to be patient and stick with it.
Yeah, I got the game right when it came out, and I played it for a while, and then it kicked my butt so hard that I set it down and didn't play it for a year. I've come back to it.
I got it when it came out, but I didn't play it right away because there were 10,000 games that came out around that time. Because that was like, what, October of 2010?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I want to say 11.
Yeah, it would
Came
have
out
been
10 years
11.
Yeah.
It would have been 11.
Yeah.
So that was like the year that, every game came out right then. I know last year seemed like that, but the year before it was worse in my opinion. Better, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And then when I finally did pick it up, like I said, I put like 190 hours into it in a month. It was fun.
All right.
So, it's been a pretty big week for video game news.
I played some games this week, Jack. What am I?
Yeah.
Top over? You're
Top
just
wizard, Jeremy.
I'm used to me saying, no, I didn't play anything.
Well, you did talk about the Nino Kuni.
That's true.
Demo.
Played some more Journey, enough to find out Daniel's a big fat liar.
What are you
Apparently,
talking about?
I'd like to sell you some platinum, Daniel. Don't mind that it's kind of dull and black. Just buy it, okay? There's no.
I don't even know the difference because I don't care. I just know that I got 100% on Journey. I don't know that it's only a silver.
Well, the 100%.
I don't care.
Trophy for Journey, but I'm just
What?
When you finish the game and get all the other trophies in Journey, you get a gold trophy. Anyway, it's still an awesome game, although I haven't finished it. I don't know why. I guess I just haven't. But I played some Uncharted 3.
How have you not finished it?
I'm trying to move on so that I wouldn't have to explain myself.
It's such a short game.
Because I looked at the trophy list like you told me to, and I knew I shouldn't.
Oh, God.
Just said you had
Really?
the majority of the game with the same person. And
So because I told you to look at the trophy list.
Yes, I'm telling you, that's what happened.
Now, you looked at it, and now you won't play it.
I might go back.
You probably have.
Became discouraged because there was no platinum, and then you had to do all this crap just to even get a bronze trophy.
You probably have an hour and a half tops left to play in it. You could watch a movie in that time.
Did I say I would never play it again? I just said I finished it.
I mean,
it's an amazing game.
I'm going to play Dark Souls. I'm going to play Dark Souls, okay? But that game is hundreds of hours. Journey is an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. Play it.
It takes me 25 hours to play a Call of Duty game, Daniel. Now, okay? Seriously.
Whatever.
I have a problem. I have to go everywhere 2 to 3 times minimum each time I go by there. So, just understand that about me. I'm not the person you think I am, Daniel, and I need to understand that. Okay?
You guys crack me up.
I played Uncharted 3, which is just, God, that's such an amazing game. I cannot wait for The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
I played with Ace and Saint, and we had a great time. Ace is amazing at the game. I
heard that.
Expected. It was really cool. Played Far Cry 3 with Shootist, Kyle. Our audio didn't work so good, but we had a good time. And I always want to say Nino Kuni was awesome.
So wait now, you have Far Cry 3?
Yeah, I've had that since it came out.
How much have you played? Just multiplayer?
I've started the game like 5 times, and played about 10 minutes of it. But other than that, yes, just co-op.
Man,
that is
such a great game.
Through my non-gaming period of trying to play it.
Yeah.
And if I felt bad the last couple of weeks, I certainly would have played it, but the last thing I could do is focus on a game, so I didn't want to start it. But I will, because it's, like I said, I don't have a lot of new games to play at the moment, so that's definitely on my list.
Yep, highly recommend it.
Jack, did you play that?
Nope.
Yeah, everybody that's played it seems to really, really like it.
So I guess I'm missing out.
Yeah, you really are, Jack. I'm not going to give you a guilt trip like Journey, because you should play that too. But but Far Cry 3, I definitely recommend it. It's the most fun I had with the game last year. Even though there were
Wow.
other games I liked more, that's the game I had the most fun with, definitely, by far.
So, more than a month after our Game of the Year,
Sorry.
still satisfied with our choice as a group?
I am.
Yeah, me too. Just curious. But I will.
Are you really?
Dad feels. No, I am, because I think the Mass Effect is very deserving. But certainly think The Walking Dead was a very special game and should get credit for what it did.
I agree. Speaking of The Walking Dead,
Oh,
there's...
yeah!
What?
It starts again on Sunday.
Oh, man, it does?
Yeah, it does.
Sweet.
Did you guys hear that the showrunner is getting canned again?
No.
The what?
The executive producer, showrunner. You know,
Really?
Frank Darabont was the showrunner, the executive producer. And though he's still technically the executive producer in title, he hasn't been part of the show since the end of season 1. And Glenn Mazzara did it the first half of season 3 and pretty much all of season 2. And now he's being, well, they're splitting for whatever reason. The rumor is it's because Robert Kirkman's an ass and nobody can get along with him. Which I kind of believe. If you read the comics, letters that he writes or responds to his fans, he is, 88% dick. I mean, it's his franchise. He can do what he wants with it, but I hope the show doesn't take a rapid turn downhill. I think that the Mazzara dude is going to, stay kind of on board for the second half of season 3, so that should be okay, but season 4 might be way different.
All right.
Just thought I'd throw that out there. But I'm very excited for Sunday.
Have you guys heard of this game, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter?
Why, what told you guys about it?
Why no, Daniel? Why don't you tell us about this game?
Well, information on it, but every time I thought I found something, it disappeared.
I just thought of it because I just thought of it because it kind of looks sort of similar to The Walking Dead in that it looks like a shorter, story-driven experience. And it was just announced today, but it's being developed by former People Can Fly developers who made Bulletstorm. And
that game was amazing.
Jack and I both love that game, so I guess I saw the interview on Game Informer with the guy, and he started out by making adventure games, and he kind of wanted to go back to his roots. And the team's only 7 people, but they're using Unreal Engine for this, and it just looks really neat. It's about a detective who is investigating the abduction, or basically possible murder of a young boy. So that's really cool.
The detective has some sort of ability that lets him reconstruct crime scenes.
Yeah. Problems, and the dad of the boy has to go through all kinds of crazy torture tests to be able to find them. Pretty sure red balloons will be involved at some point.
Jason!
It's only coming out on the PC, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so far at least. But it just looks really cool, and I read a lot on the company's blog, and their philosophy on game design is something I really agree with, but a lot of people don't agree with it. But my philosophy is that cinematic games and games that emphasize storytelling over hit points and strategy are what the future of gaming is going to look like. But David Cage agrees with me, but a lot of people do not. So
yeah, David Cage agrees.
Well, I see no reason why the two are mutually exclusive. I don't see why you can't have one without the other. Right. I mean, the big thing is just independent studios need to just say F it and deliver something that is actually oriented towards a mature gaming audience instead of...
Without being over the top crazy. Like, you know.
Right, I mean,
something.
people really like Grand Theft Auto. And Grand Theft Auto 4 was a great game. I had a lot of fun playing it, but I wouldn't call it a very mature gaming experience. It's not, it's not The Untouchables in video game form or something like that. It's, for goodness sakes, the Grand Theft Auto 4 starts out with a dominatrix spanking a guy, right?
It's like most of my Saturday mornings.
But I mean, I think there's a space in the video game arena for games that are serious experiences, that are more like The Walking Dead, that have emotional impact. And there are also places for games that aren't like that, too. But I feel like for video games to be taken more seriously, he's right. We need to have more mature experiences for people.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think that the vanishing of Ethan Carter is definitely a step in the right direction. Because I think that people are going to need those things in smaller doses, especially non-traditional gamers. Like, I think Cage's game, Beyond, is going to be amazing, but you're not going to get somebody that's just getting into gaming to buy a PS3, or even if they happen to own a PS3, to really be that interested in that game aside from Ellen Page.
Right.
And because it's not as accessible as a game like The Walking Dead. I mean, The Walking Dead showed up on my iPhone pretty much all by itself because Apple seemed to know I would like it. And I'm like, what? So I downloaded it. I mean, it was suggested. It didn't just pop up. And sure, you only get the first episode free, but that would have been enough if I had not already played it for me to say, yep, buy now and finish it. And I think that that type of game is definitely something that needs to be made a lot more often. And it's, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
My opinion is just that I think there's room for variety, but I think that if you really want games to get some respect, in wider audience and stop being treated like toys, then I think you need to appeal to those wider audiences with more mature content. But, they're not just going to play a more mature game just because it's there. You have to make it accessible to them. And so, a game like The Walking Dead working on iPhone and stuff like that, the fact that it's on iOS and it works and it's accessible and people want to play it, and it won all these Game of the Year awards. I think that's huge exposure for the game. I think that goes a long way. So
let's be. I mean, it did have an advantage being named after a very popular TV show.
Yeah, definitely. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that can be used to give it exposure. And I mean, the same with Ellen Page being in Beyond. I mean, it's the same kind of exposure that kind of game needs. Because it doesn't have because people just have this preconceived notion that a game has to be just fun, mindless fun. It's really hard for me to articulate how I feel about this. I guess I think that games like The Walking Dead are accessible and easy for casual gamers to get into. Taryn played it and loved it, and I didn't have to help her. So, I mean, just that kind of stuff, I just want to see more of that. And that doesn't mean that other stuff needs to go away. I'd just love to see more of that. And I'd love to see more money put behind that kind of game, too. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, there's room for both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Definitely. It shouldn't.
Right.
It doesn't.
And I think just because of the success of the Walking Dead game, I think Telltale Games is probably going to be the forerunner of those kinds of games that are so much more accessible to people who don't play video games.
God, I hope not. They suck. But I hope that somebody does. I don't like Telltale.
You don't like Telltale games?
Not at all. I think they're a bunch of bastards. I like some of the games because they're the whole reason I never really, like, before when I played The Walking Dead, I didn't like how they didn't communicate with the fan base, how they were rude to the fan base, how they made a promise and didn't keep it. And nobody cared before because they didn't play their games before. But now they had this huge game that they had made, $200 million in pre-orders off of, and they were basically just giving everybody a big middle finger when they hadn't came out for 3 months after it was supposed to. I think that's a wrong way to do it. Just my thought. I think if they would have, I don't really care that the games didn't come out monthly, but that is what they advertise, and that's what a lot of people paid for, and they just never would own up to it. And then for it to take 11 months for a game to come out that was supposed to come out in 5 months with no explanation or no even apology it's bad business.
I don't think they ever said that it was...
Yeah, they did.
They said
when I pre-ordered it, it was 5 monthly installments from April to August.
All right.
Trust me, Google it. I'm not the only one upset about it, I promise. And again, it's not so much that it happened, it's just that they wouldn't even, answer the criticism. And it was an amazing game, and it stood on its own, thankfully. But I don't like the way they do business, and I think that if they are going to continue to make games like that, they need to either give the people that pre-order them a huge discount, or, say, hey, it could take a year for this whole game to come out. Deal with it. They would make answers, and they would say just a few more days. Like if you went to their official forum, that's where they would answer, yep, just a few more days. And then it wouldn't work on PSN for the, when they released it finally, and then it wouldn't work on Xbox when they released it. It was just a mess. And I'm sorry, that's wrong.
All right, so now that we have established that Telltale Games is evil and has grievously wronged Jeremy.
Billions of other people. The people that helped
move on.
The game extremely popular for them, by the way. Because as PO'd as we were, we couldn't stop talking about it when they finally did release the second episode. Amazing.
So, Gabe Newell and J.J. Abrams, possible team up for a Portal movie. What do you guys think?
I don't know about a Portal movie.
Or a Half-Life movie.
I would probably watch a movie. I mean, I don't see them trying to do both together.
Personally, for a Portal movie, I would love to see, Pixar do a Portal movie.
Yeah, it would have to be certainly animated. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Jack?
I don't think J.J. Abrams is the right, but I don't think that J.J. Abrams is the right guy to do a Portal movie. Maybe a Half-Life movie, but definitely not a Portal movie.
Why is that? I'm not real familiar with J.J. Abrams, so...
I think that he's okay as a director. I don't think he's the best in the business. I think he's good at not making people angry with established properties. And I mean that's a talent, but he also doesn't take big risks, really. He's a safe choice. He's not a daring choice. And I think with a Portal movie, honestly, I think that a good choice for a Portal movie would be, a relatively newer director. Someone who can give fresh eyes to Portal.
I think a Portal movie just wouldn't seem right if it wasn't some low-budget Sundance type of movie, like the game started as. It would seem too weird to me to see a blockbuster Portal movie in theaters.
And like Daniel said, I think it would work great as a Pixar animated movie, but I also think it would probably, the way I envision it in my head, is as a low-budget kind of Sundance movie with very minimal special effects.
Here's what they should do. You remember movies like Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yes.
At the beginning, they had those little episodes of Baby Herman. Was that it? They should make a Half-Life movie and do a mini Portal movie at the beginning of it.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So, yeah, here's the thing about J.J. Abrams. He is now in charge of films doing Star Trek, Star Wars, and possibly Half-Life and Portal. Like, he is... How much power can one man have?
My goodness.
What?
Who's he sleeping with? My goodness.
Exactly. Apparently George Lucas. And, and Gabe Newell. Yeah.
Gabe should be cast as young Han Solo.
Or Chewbacca.
Which, if you aren't aware, Disney just announced 2 spin-off movies from the Star Wars franchise. That one will star Boba Fett, and the other will star a young Han Solo, which I think is really dumb. But
yeah,
Both
definitely.
announced or just the latter?
oh, just young Han Solo. I think a Boba Fett movie would be totally awesome.
I thought that
he
was called
A Boba Fett show would be awesome. I'm not sure about movie.
like a talk show where he like interviews people.
Well, I heard somebody.
You need a storm blaster.
I heard
This
somebody.
week we have HK-47 coming on the show.
I heard somebody pitch an idea for a Boba Fett movie, and it sounded like the coolest thing. And it was Boba Fett on the Jabba the Hutt homeworld, Nal Hutta, and which is basically just a giant cesspit of criminal activity, and kind of working as like this lone mercenary that just goes from town to town and takes jobs and is kind of a good guy, but is also just in it for the money. And so it's kind of like an old like sci-fi version of the Man with No Name trilogy, starring Boba Fett in space. And I think that sounds awesome.
Right, that does sound kind of cool.
I'd watch that. I think being a huge Star Wars fan, I'd watch that.
Like, just think gritty, dirty sci-fi with Boba Fett killing dudes.
Like L.A. Noire style, except better than the game.
But, alright, here's the thing though. It's coming from Disney. Do you really think it's going to be gritty and dirty?
You know what? I think I can see...
Carter.
I mean, don't use John Carter as an example. I hate that.
No, that's a terrible example.
But, I mean, the Avengers was
Not
pretty
gritty and dirty.
action-packed.
It's not gritty and dirty.
But I'm just saying that they are capable of doing action-packed affairs, and
I don't know. They're losing a lot of money, so they might try something different. They might.
And I mean, they have a history of doing non-traditional things with their movies. I mean, say what you will, but the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, that was pretty dark stuff with undead pirates, and
It's kind of true. I gotta side with Jack.
there was stabbing and, eyes popping out of sockets.
Sexual innuendo.
Yep. So
Right.
I mean, it wouldn't terribly surprise me if it was, a gritty, dark thing. And then having that movie out to please adults, and then having a young Han Solo movie out for kids, that they can then merchandise things. Because honestly, I can't see any other reason why you would do a young Han Solo movie besides to get kids in.
So what is the timeline of these movies supposed to be in not necessarily like in the canon, but are they supposed to come out after episode -1 or 7, whatever?
It's all a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the young Han Solo one is going to take place between episode 3 and episode 4, so it's focusing on...
So it came out like 7 years ago? 10 years ago? I mean, is it going to be released after the new movie that J.J. Abrams was making, or?
Oh, I'm not entirely sure. They haven't announced an actual time frame for the release of these spin-off movies, just that they're in production.
Okay. Gotcha.
But, yeah, mixed feelings about that announcement. Kind of excited, but kind of scared, because I remember what they did with Young Indiana Jones, and Young Indiana Jones sucks.
I was just going to bring that up.
Was that ever a movie, or was that just a TV show?
Young Indiana Jones?
TV show.
I think they also made some movies.
Ooh.
No.
I remember because my dad had a VHS collection of the movies, and
Oh, that poor guy.
it was a VHS collection of the 3 original movies, and then for some reason it also had 2 VHSs of Young Indiana Jones.
Yes, I had that too.
And I watched those, and they suck. At the end of one of them, they find this big clue to take them to the legendary treasure, and Indiana Jones is just whatever.
See, I actually saw that before I ever saw any of the Indiana Jones movies, and that's why I never really wanted to watch the Indiana Jones movies, because that was such a terrible show.
Yeah. But then you saw the Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and I loved them. So,
okay.
Well, except for, Nuke the Fridge. But.
Right.
Yeah, that was not good. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
Portal stuff.
So we agree that Half-Life is a better choice than Portal for a real-life action movie, correct?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, sure.
So the other, any other DICE news you wanted to talk about, Daniel?
No.
Okay.
Oh, besides J.J. Abrams controlling all of collective nerd culture, depending on what he does with the properties under his control.
Maybe he's the one riding the pale horse. Maybe he's going to gather nerds under his unitas, and then he'll take off his mask and be this evil emperor, dude.
Yeah, that's how Hitler came to power.
Pretty sure.
He directed an early Star Wars film in Germany.
Yeah, that's why they had all those half-built flying saucers and whatnot there. They weren't really using them as weapons of war. It was for their entertainment. Duh.
And that's why all the aliens were bad in that movie.
And that's why they were starving all those poor people. They needed them for movie extras, and they wanted it to be more authentic.
Oh dear.
That was terrible. I shouldn't have said that. Me. Sorry if I offended anybody. Let's move on.
Well, I kind of wanted to talk about some Kickstarter projects.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I recently backed 3 different Kickstarter projects. One is called
La-di-da. Slow count. Slow clap. Jack.
Jack, thank you for supporting the growth of this economy, this industry, and something you love. I think that you're a true American for doing that.
Let me just swirl my wine glass and take a sip. I'm so refined and sophisticated. Okay.
Put your pinky out.
But yeah, I first supported this program that used to be on The Escapist called Duralius and Associates. I watched a lot of that in college, and I really liked it, and then they stopped doing it to focus on a feature-length film. And now they're back, but they're not within The Escapist confines anymore, and they're funding another season of their show. So I supported that because I think they're funny. And the show is just about a group of mercenaries in a made-up fantasy world called Nudonia, and they get into all sorts of hijinks and adventures that are stupid and fun. It's kind of animated similar to South Park a little bit, but yeah, they're just silly things. They have this wizard who's basically a hippie, and he doesn't really know much magic that works, and so his spells always misfire or do something wrong. He has a spell that can bring people back to life, but they explode 5 minutes after they come back. Just stuff like that.
What a sweet spell. And what's the other Kickstarter project you want to talk about?
And I'm also backing this project called Cryamore. That's it's already reached its funding goal, but it still has 20 days or so left to raise money. So they're putting up their stretch goals to translate the game into Japanese and to get it to come out on iOS and Linux, stuff like that. It's really neat. It's a tribute to old school RPG exploration, kind of along the same lines as Secret of Mana. You walk around and you use different weapons to hack and slash, and you level up, and you gain new abilities, and you can summon monsters, and all that good stuff. Looks really interesting. It's going to have voice acting, has good music. That's also a tribute back to some of gaming's greatest, earliest moments. And then the last project that I pledged money to is this game called Project Awakened, which has been in development for the last 6 years, and it looks phenomenal. It's kind of a superhero game, but with a super, no pun intended,
Sorry.
character creation process.
Sorry. One more time, brother.
Bless you.
I've been sneezing a lot lately.
You're a sneezer. Ebenezer Scrooge.
You might want to start Project Awakened. I ruined it.
Project Awakened, it's been in development for the last 6 years. It's kind of along the same lines as Prototype and Infamous, where you play as a superhero, but you can create pretty much any kind of superhero you want. So you can have one that specializes in teleportation and invisibility and like stealth. So you can create like a stealth ninja. You can have one that specializes in healing, or shooting projectiles from your hands, or uses an actual gun. Stuff like that. Someone that can change their skin into scales that are bulletproof. It looks super cool, and I encourage everyone to go to their Kickstarter page and just look at their footage, because they haven't been just sitting back over the last 6 years. They've actually been working on the game, and right now they have it running in Unreal Engine 3. But their plan is to take it into Unreal Engine 4 and release it on next-gen consoles. And the game already looks really good. And I can only imagine that on Unreal Engine 4 it would look even better.
Speaking of next-gen consoles, since I said that in the intro, I suppose we should talk about it.
Yeah.
So that leads perfectly into next-gen consoles.
Yes, they're going to cook your Pop-Tarts, scramble your eggs, pay your taxes, which I did today, which sucked, by the way. And
tell you you're handsome.
And prevent you from buying used games.
Is that true?
Well, Sony did patent some sort of technology that would prevent you from playing a game on another console after you boot it up for the first time.
But let's be clear. Tech companies do that kind of stuff all the time just to prevent somebody else from doing it, or just in case. I mean, it's pretty well known for every 25 patents Sony or Microsoft gets, they don't use one of them, and that way it kind of keeps it open for 7 years in case they change their mind. I don't think it's happening, personally.
Yeah, I feel like the negatives far outweigh the benefits of having a console that doesn't play used games. I can't imagine that the PR fallout would just be terrible.
It would be. And as much as I support buying new games and think people should buy new games, I think people have a right to buy used games, and people have a right to sell their games, and I think it would be just a terrible mistake. And Jack, you wrote a blog about this, and you're certainly not the first person to ever make this, observation. But a lot of people trade in their games to GameStop to get money to buy new games.
Right.
A lot of people do that. God, I did that for the first 5 years I was a gamer. I still do it on occasion.
Well, and what I think a lot of people forget sometimes is that when people can't buy used games, that means they also can't sell used games. And just because buying used games is no longer an option, people say, well, I don't buy used games. Well, do you sell your games? Because you wouldn't be able to do that anymore either.
Yeah, it would get you on both ends.
And I also feel like if somebody, I didn't mention this in the blog, but I feel like if one of the companies did try to implement a technology that does restrict the resale of video games, I feel like that's just a lawsuit begging to happen.
Yeah, I think if they charged full price and kept at the same model that they've been doing since 1975, I think that there was no way they would win in court. Now, if they went to a different model and charged like a $30 licensing fee, then yeah, I think they could get away with it. But there's no way they could sell them full retail price and then all of a sudden say, oh, no, we've been doing it this way for, 35 years, but now, because the technology is here, we're not going to allow you to resell these things.
And also, I think a big factor is when you're launching a new console, you want to sell it as many places as possible. And a lot of the places that people go to buy the consoles also deal in buying and selling used games.
But now, Daniel, the PC's been doing this for years, and people complain about it, but they've gotten away with it. So maybe it is possible. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the problem is that console games have just been kind of painted into this corner where there's been a precedent set that for decades people have been able to buy games used, and to just suddenly stop that, I think the better plan for console manufacturers would be to just wait it out until the majority of game sales is digital, and give consumers more convenient ways to purchase their games and better pricing options, and you'll see that they don't care about the used games. People just want to save money. Games are really expensive. Okay. $60 a pop. I mean, I would have loved to play Dead Space 3 this week, but I couldn't spend that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to buy God of War and Bioshock Infinite. That's insane to me. I mean, a year ago, never even would have crossed my mind, but now I have to make that choice. And I think more and more people are coming across those situations.
And I don't think that digital sales will really eclipse retail sales until consumers have more options in that space. And I think games like The Walking Dead are also a big step towards that. And free-to-play games and the success of games like League of Legends here in America should tell people something like, hey, people like this business model. This works. So I think that companies need to be innovative in their pricing, and eventually it will work itself out. But to just force it this way is really shoddy business practices.
But it is interesting that because computer software has been challenged in courts about being able to be resold, and the courts upheld the law that it was a license, not a product. So I wonder if maybe console manufacturers are just that stupid to not understand that they need the used games industry to be able to survive.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
Would either of you not buy a console if it had some sort of software enabled that made it so you couldn't play a used game?
I would certainly look into the competing console.
Mm-hmm.
Given the option between a console that plays used games and one that doesn't, or one that does and one that doesn't, I would definitely go if all other things were equal, with the one that does play used games.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's not in a vacuum, and I don't know if both of these companies would conspire with each other about, used games.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I almost have a feeling that they would.
Yeah, it's almost got to be an all or nothing thing. They either have to be
exactly.
together or none of them at all.
Exactly. And the thing is, we already have the Wii U, and the Wii U doesn't have that in it. So let's say, for example, both the PlayStation 3, or PlayStation 4 and Xbox 720 come out, and they both block used games. Well, all of a sudden, the Wii U to me is looking an awful lot more attractive.
I agree.
I disagree. I think those consoles have one big advantage. If the rumored specs are correct, then those are much more powerful consoles.
It's also possible that a lot of this may be driven by the publishers, and if the publishers are behind it, then they'll just stop. Well, not that they've really ever started. They'll just stop developing or publishing games for the Wii U. I mean, really, the people behind the biggest restrictions on games on PC, well, obviously it's been publishers, and they're big players in the gaming industry. So who knows? I just hope it's a rumor, and I hope it's not true. I think it's inevitable that it will happen, but I hope it's in the age of digital gaming where you can buy a part of a game, and if you don't like it, not buy the rest, instead of having to pay $60 just to see if you want to play it or not.
And I, on the other hand, disagree. I don't think that it is inevitable. I think that it's too big a risk to be taking. Definitely this console generation, possibly for the foreseeable future. And I think that physical video games are always going to be around.
I don't think so at all. People said the same thing about CDs, and when's the last time you bought a CD?
For my mother's birthday.
Okay, well, you're not normal. Daniel, when's the last time you bought a CD?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I buy all my music on iTunes. It's just.
But they're still in stores. You can still go buy them, and that's.
But when you walked in,
you know how I bought them,
Walmart in the mid-90s, Jack? It was huge. Now it's like a half an aisle.
Right, but I'm saying that there's always going to be a spot in stores where you can go and buy physical video games.
Right.
And the reason is because people will buy them if they're in stores. But I also agree with Daniel that as time goes on, downloading games is going to become more and more the norm. I just don't think that physical video games or physical movies or CDs are ever going to go away because, A, people like having physical things to hold on to, and B, there's space in the store for those things. I mean...
I don't know that they'll ever go completely away, but once that ratio tips so much towards the other way, then it's easier to justify putting this sort of restriction on it, and then you can say, well, 75% of our fan base, or our user base, does take advantage of the downloadable service. And the other 25% that want to have the physical copy, then that's just the price they're going to pay is happen to have a physical copy that they can't resell. PC's gotten away with it, so there's no reason the console can't get away with it. And I think it'll be in the next 15 years.
Well, if I recall, CDs had this same debate, right, over used CD sales.
Mm-hmm.
And
but over pirating music for sure.
Well, I remember reading as I was researching, CDs had this kind of the same thing, selling a used DVD, a used CD, a used DVD. That's not illegal, and I think that it would be hard to justify it for games as well. And even if it is easier to do it, I think that once the majority of your consumer base is already downloading your games, then it stops becoming an issue that you really need to press.
I think the difference between movies and CDs and games are that games have always been considered software, and movies and CDs have not. I think that's the huge difference. I don't agree. I agree. I think it would be bullcrap, but I think, the court has already ruled on it on the PC side, and the precedent is set. And, Microsoft and Sony, if they really wanted to, they could say, you know what, these are computers. They could argue that, especially if they come out with the browser and all that other stuff. And it's up in the air and what would happen. I just hope they're not stupid enough to do that. I think it would hurt them big time to do it right now.
Yeah. I just don't think they'll do it.
Well, like I said, iTunes made digital music ubiquitous. It never was before iTunes. And there's a reason for that. It was convenient. There was stuff like Napster and stuff, and that had already existed, and that existed in subscription form, and they had stuff like Rhapsody and whatnot. But people didn't like that option. They didn't like it as much. And there are options out there, but they're just not good enough.
Yeah.
There hasn't been an option convenient enough for consumers. Think about
in the console
iTunes.
space.
In the console, right, in the console space. Like, iTunes, you could just go and buy a song for $1 that you hear on the radio. That's not a big risk. And the same with games on your iPhone. It's $1 to play, Temple Run or whatever. Not even, it's free. So it's like, it's convenient. There's not a lot keeping people from going and doing that. And there's just nothing like that in the console space for people, and really on PC too.
With the next generation of consoles, it's going to take forever to download a full game, because PC still takes forever to download a full game.
Yeah.
So that is a big difference between iTunes and digital downloads of games.
Right. And they just haven't solved that problem. They haven't figured out how to make that convenient enough for the consumer. And instead of making it more convenient, for the consumer, they're just, instead of even trying to find a solution, they're just saying, screw you, we're going to make it so that you have no choice. And that would be terrible.
Yeah, I think it's years in the future, but I do think it will happen eventually.
I think it will happen, but it's going to take some innovation. I don't think at the rate we're going, it's just going to happen just because. I think there has to be some innovation and some new ideas to make it happen.
So what about the rumor of the always online requirement by Xbox?
I remember that argument being leveled at the beginning of the current generation, and I think the same rebuttal still applies. There are a lot of people who play video games offline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they don't want to alienate those people, so I don't think I don't think that will happen.
I agree. Let's face it, the internet isn't flawless. Look at, during Hurricane Sandy, how many people would have been out? I know they had bigger problems during that time, but not everybody was completely out of power. There were a lot of people that just had some services down. Everybody knows that my internet here goes out all the time, just briefly or sometimes for a long time. And I know I'm in a rural area, but it happens a lot. I think it would be a mistake to do that.
Yeah, it would.
And again, I think that's something where having that requirement would drive consumers into the arms of their competition. I don't think they're willing to risk that.
And I will say, as a parent, I wouldn't buy that console for my child if I can't turn them offline. No way.
What about other features?
I think the idea of having a power button is still pretty acceptable, but hit and miss. I don't know what. Frankly, what else is there? Updated graphics is about the only thing that's left. I don't really know.
Well, I think we can certainly expect to see improved online services.
Yeah. PlayStation 4 will be a huge improvement if they do it right.
Yeah.
So that it can compete with the Xbox in not just in online, but being able to develop for it. They don't have a lot of the same social features because they can't split up their memory enough to make it work in both areas. And I think that'll be a big improvement. But I don't think that the graphics will be better, but they're not going to be twice as good. They're not going to be PC quality. And I think the Xbox will be pretty much more of what you already see, except maybe slightly enhanced graphics.
You know, I think we're going to see enhancements in the graphics that are beyond what we have currently. It will look the same, but there will be more things going on the screen. Like you won't have slowdown. You can have
better performance.
You know, better performance. Hundreds of different NPC characters on screen doing whatever.
That's
and I think in things like that, we're definitely going to notice improvements.
Enough to spend $400.
Well, you know, another thing that's really going to sell those consoles are the exclusives. You know, once Watch Dogs comes out, once The Last of Us comes out, because I'm sure The Last of Us is going to also come out on the next generation of consoles, probably.
I think it'll be the last hurrah on the PS3.
Do you think it will just be on PS3, or will they release
Last of Us? Oh, you mean PS3 and PS4?
Or will the PS4 and Xbox 720 have backwards compatibility, so you can play your PS3 games on your PS4?
I don't think the PS3 will be able to unless they keep the cell technology. And
cell technology?
Yeah, isn't that what they have now that makes it so hard to develop for? Because it splits up it's got like 8 cell cores or some stupid crazy thing. And because they don't connect together properly, you can't, if you don't use all the power in one, you can't take it to the next one. That's why a lot of the games don't perform as well. Because Microsoft allows theirs, it's not cell, it's core, and it's less powerful total, but the developers can use it in any way they want.
I would hope they'd find a workaround to make that work.
I think they want to. I think that the precedent has been set with backwards compatibility. So, I don't know.
So you think they're just not going to have it all together, or
what they'll do is they'll offer it on their network.
Okay.
That's what I think they'll do. So that the games that are to be played, I mean, maybe they'll allow PS1 games like the PS3 does, and Xbox allows Xbox games, I think, maybe.
Both consoles really kind of just have weird backwards compatibility stuff going on. Like the Xbox 360 only plays some Xbox games, and the PS3, some models play all of the PS1 and PS2 games, while other models of the PS3 only play PS1 games.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange. But I would think that of the PS4 and Xbox 720, I would think that the PS4 would have an easier time with backwards compatibility with PS3 games, just because it's the first time a PlayStation console has shared the same video game media input as its predecessor.
That's possible. I think if they can do it, they should. It would be at least throwing the gamers a bone, you know. I think that'd be great if they did it. I just think that the precedent's been set, and they know they can get away with it because they already did it.
Yep. What do you guys think about price points? What are we going to be seeing these things at when they come out?
I think it'll be definitely an increase. Oh, the consoles or the games?
The consoles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I think the Xbox will be cheaper because I do think it'll be subscription based.
I don't know. The freaking Vita cost $300 or whatever when it first released. So.
How?
What?
It's not any cheaper now. You just get better bundles, barely.
That's true. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Sony's got heads up their butt when it comes to pricing.
So who knows? It could be anything. It could be a lot.
I think
I'm thinking
$100 and $199.
Sorry, what now?
I think the PlayStation 4 will be $400, and I think that the next Xbox will be $199 with a mandatory like $60 a month minimum subscription service.
You know, I think you know, I might be alone here, but I think that's really low to expect those new consoles to come out at
Yeah.
$400. I am prepared to expect them to be anywhere between $500 and $600.
I don't know.
I mean,
I think that the technology that they're boasting is impressive. I mean,
but when
it's a console, but it's not like, I don't know.
But when you think about like the current generation that we're in, when the PS3 came out 5 or 6 years ago, it came out at $700.
Yes, but the economy was tremendously better at that time, and they were laughed. They're still the laughing stock of jokes, and I think that Sony's not really smart when it comes to their business models, but they have to know that that was a mistake, and they can't even use the 5 number because what people remember is $599 and $600. So they have to go with a number that's got 4. So maybe $499. I don't know.
Well, because I think that they're going to be first off they're going to come out with 2 or 3 options for, like, there's basic, a core, a basic, and a premium bundles. This is just what I'm guessing.
Well, it would be
For each of the consoles, and I'm thinking that just at base value, it's probably going to be around $450 to $500, and I think premium could go up again as high as $700, and then the basic would be around $600, and I just have a feeling that it's going to be more expensive than some people think it's going to be.
I hope you're wrong, but you could be right.
I mean, it's a new console. Right now an iPod or an iPad 4, right. iPad 3. What's the newest one out right now?
It's 3, I think.
It's
iPad.
It's a newer version of the iPad 3 that's got the Lightning connector and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, right now one of those with like the medium amount of space that's on it is what? It's around $600.
Yeah. Have you read the news? Apple's losing billions of dollars a month. People don't have money, man.
Right, but I'm saying that for a new piece of technology, it's not. I don't think it's. First off, there's a precedent for it. I don't think it's unheard of or unreasonable to expect that a new console is going to be really expensive, especially when the Wii U just came out and it's $350, and to expect that new consoles that are
and it's not selling. I think that
the Wii U marketing totally dropped the ball on that. I don't know if
I would agree, but the price point still seems high. I don't want to use myself as an example, but a year ago I would have had no problem buying the Wii U. I can't afford it today. And I think that I'm a good example of a lot of people in America. It's just, people don't have the money for that kind of crap. And I think that Microsoft will be smart enough to know that. I don't know that Sony will. And I think Microsoft will trick people into paying a lot more over a long term, but with a lower initial investment.
I just think that with the Wii U, it came out at an awkward time where people knew that there's a new horizon for consoles that are going to be another generation leap forward.
People that play the Wii don't know that. They don't care.
But it's a Wii U. I mean, that's different. It's not the same thing.
No, but the thing is, the people that played the Wii don't know what the Wii U is, and they don't understand what it brings to the table. So people who played Wii's, like, they're looking at it and they're saying, well, how do I play Wii Sports on this?
But the difference in 2006, $300 was a lot less than $300 in 2011. It's a huge difference. Or 2012. And yeah, it blew up, it went viral, but people aren't, even if it's only $50 more, people aren't going to take, or was it? It was $249 when the Wii released, right? So it was $250 8 years ago, and now it's $350, and they did do a terrible marketing job. I absolutely agree. That and the higher price point for people not knowing that it's any different, I think has had a huge impact on the lack of sales. The Vita is just extremely overpriced. It's a cool cool gadget. And Apple has just gotten extremely lucky, and it's not going to last forever. I think that people need to start selling this stuff much cheaper, and they'll be better off. Doesn't mean they will. I'm not saying I disagree with either one of you. I just think that one of them has to figure that out. Somebody has to be smart enough, and whoever does is going to make tons of money.
Well, I think that when it first comes out, it's going to be very expensive, and then a couple months after the first release, after early adopters have had their chance to get their hands on it, and the first batch of video games for it has released, they're probably going to have a price drop of $100 or so.
Well,
maybe.
The Vita, remember when the Vita was announced and people were talking about it? Everybody was saying it's going to be at least $500. And sure, it came out at $300, but that's a lot less than what people thought. So you have to think that they'll go on the lower side and try to make more money off of other services. I think you're going to see a lot more nickel and dime transactions. You're going to see a lot more 12-year-olds racking up $1,000 bills in Temple Run on your PlayStations and your Xboxes. It's the only way that makes sense right now.
True. And if you see that, and if that's what happens, then they'll succeed. But if they go with a large initial investment and still charge $60 to $70 a game, they're not going to. They're going to fail. And
so do you think they're going to?
And I don't know who would pick up the slack. What?
Do you think they're going to drop the price on retail games then?
No, I think the price of retail games for gamers will go up, and I think that's where they'll try to make up some of that money. But I think there's also going to be a lot of services that's going to be there for just the everyday average person. I think Sony may not go that route, but I kind of think that they somewhat will. This new browser service where you can buy games and play games from PSN in your browser,
right,
is just kind of part of that. And they've somewhat said, not officially, but they're focusing more on social enhancements than graphical enhancements on the next PlayStation. So
here's another thing. It was a really small news story this week, but I think it's a huge deal. Redbox is Redbox is testing their latest thing, which is going to be an Xbox Live app where you can stream movies for $1 a night. And probably, since they have games in the Redbox physical kiosks, they'd probably have the same thing with games. And imagine having a program on your Xbox where you paid $1 a night, or games are $2. You pay $2 a night to play a game.
I think we'll see that. I do. I absolutely do. I think it'll be subscription-based on Xbox, and you'll get some stuff for free. You'll have to pay a premium for some stuff.
I don't think it should be prescription-based. Like, that's the thing.
Subscription.
You're not subscription, whatever, sorry. You're not gonna get the people that Redbox gets. Like, okay, because there's Netflix already, and whatever, but, like,
But people on Xbox already pay a subscription. They don't care. It's just going to be more, and you're going to get more.
They do. You don't want to pay another subscription on top of that. Think about it. If I have to pay $10 a month for Redbox, that sounds worse than saying I could just try out this game for $2 a night. It's more impulse. It's more impulsive. It's the same reason iTunes is more successful than Rhapsody. It's psychological. I should be a marketer. I'm telling you.
I think Xbox will do. This is what I honestly think. $199 for the console, $60 a month gets you your online play. Gets you maybe, if they do the Redbox, 2 or 3 free rentals a month, and a variety of other things. And then you can stack onto that if you want. I sincerely believe that. I don't know why. I don't have any proof. I just really think that. And I think it would be genius. A year ago, I was complaining about it, but now that I'm a broke mofo, I think it's great. Yeah. I can buy what I want and not have to have all this other crap.
Yeah.
Well, I think the cost of games is going to stay relatively the same, but I think that instead what will happen is we'll see more and more day one DLC, other versions of DLC that come out later, that encourage people to pick up the game, to squeeze more money out of publisher, to squeeze more money to make games more profitable for publishers so that they can get their money back from developing in Unreal Engine 4 in these next generation
I think you're right, except I think
engines.
it's going to actually be both. I think it's going to be at least another $10 a game, and there's going to be tons of potential income through microtransactions and DLC.
I just can't. To me, $60 is a price point that I've accepted over the years.
Why? Last generation it was $50, and that's what it was for the 5 generations before that.
Right.
But to me, it's just paying $70 for a game becomes less about buying a game and more about an investment. I mean, $60 is already pretty steep. $70 is getting into a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember when begging my grandma to buy me Super Mario Brothers 3, and it was $60, and she had a fit, but she did it. And if you look back at if you do inflation from 1991 when that game came out to now, it would be like $90.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame the publishers and developers for raising the price of games. It's got to be super expensive to develop some of these games. I get that, but I don't know. I mean, it's not as simple as Microsoft or Sony controlling that, because so very few percentage of the games come from those places. They come from the other places.
Whatever console embraces flexibility in pricing for the consumer will win next generation.
And that's why I think it'll be Xbox. I think that they may even come out afterwards, but I think that they understand that people need a low buy-in, and they need to be able to pick and choose, for the most part, what they need. Hey, as a PlayStation fanboy, it hurts me to say that, trust me. But
I agree.
I mean, Sony's got their mind on, and I don't think that their console is going to be so outrageously high. I just don't think that they're going to have a wide enough business model to compete.
Well, and Microsoft has just historically been a little bit more flexible with their pricing models than PlayStation. I mean, or Sony.
Yeah, they've been pretty active. They've dropped the prices ahead of the ball.
Not necessarily with games. I mean, look at some of the things that Sony is kind of leading the pack as far as bringing free-to-play to consoles. What?
They should just merge and be like the best of both worlds. I never, ever, but I almost really think that now.
Yeah, you're right, Daniel. In terms of actual games, they're not really that great with their pricing online. But that being said, they are better with pricing their console differently, with price, and with their holiday sales, they actually did have some pretty good sales going on.
Sony's bus service is fantastic. And
that too, and that's why I think that when we see the next Xbox, we're probably going to see a new, like you're saying, a new subscription service for Xbox Live, and probably an overhaul of how they conduct their online services.
Yeah, but you have to get people in the door first, and that will be the challenge.
Yeah, if they're offering basically more services, especially if it is more of those smaller games, to the core Xbox users, they're not going to care. They'll just keep the Xbox they have. I think that they have to. I don't know. I think that they have to do something different, and I don't know. That document just really seemed like it made sense to me when I read it. So I guess I was sold. Of course, I'll buy a condo if somebody tells me it's nice. Well, that was quite the discussion. Jeez,
yeah, it was a good discussion. I like that.
Got a bit heated.
Creation is coming, no doubt about it. I think it'll be here before we know it. When is Sony's press conference? The 20th of this month?
Yep.
It is the 20th?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
So we'll see who's right. Maybe they'll have a price point.
Probably none of us. It's probably going to be out of whack, crazy thing that nobody could have ever dreamed. We'll be like,
They're offering space shuttles to the moon for virtual reality.
That's right.
Hmm.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Lord knows the consumers don't know because we don't ever know what we really want.
So tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
Stop it.
All right, so maybe we should move on to shoutouts.
Dude,
Maybe. That was any time we start quoting the Spice Girls is a good sign we need to move on to shoutouts.
Was that the Spice Girls?
oh, like you don't know.
Yeah, come on.
I don't.
You
I don't.
know
Was
it.
that
Can't tell if that was before your time.
the Spice Girls?
Yes, that was the Spice Girls.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. When I was growing up, honest to goodness, I did not listen to music until I hit high school. Like I just didn't listen to music. I don't know why. But and it wasn't until like the middle of high school either.
Because you would have to go to the store and buy actual CDs.
So I didn't listen to NSYNC or the Spice Girls. I have no knowledge of their music really outside of their super hits.
Good for you.
Sang was a super hit, Jack.
What?
Everything they sang was a super hit. Just joking.
Well, maybe I know all of their songs then.
I interviewed
I celebrate their entire catalog.
someone for a job the other day that was born after I graduated.
Oh,
Scary.
dear.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is sad.
Were they impressed by your venerable appearance and long white beard?
If you would have saw me 3 days ago, you would have been terrified. Speaking of white beards, I grew a beard last week, and half of it is white. What the frick? Not bad enough God made me go bald at the age of 20. Now my beard, when I choose to grow it, is white. Halfway.
That's awesome. That makes you distinct.
Sure it does.
Yep. There
And
you go.
distinguished.
Well, speaking of distinguished,
Yes, that's what I meant. Distinguished.
several community members who are distinguished, and it's that time of the show to do our Jacked Up Indian Mojo Show community shout out.
Shout out. We all helped on that one.
We did it that time.
You being the handsomest of the bunch at this moment. Why don't you?
Thanks.
You look tired in your picture, Daniel.
Wait, you were talking to me? I didn't think you were talking to me.
No, I told Jack to go first.
Oh, I thought you were talking to Daniel.
I said, Jack, you being the handsomest of us all at the moment, you go first.
I just figured handsome equaled me.
Yeah, you would.
You know.
Well, Daniel can go first, because he's pretty handsome.
Yeah, let's let Daniel go first.
Yay! Alright, so my shout out is for Ashaman. What?
Your shout out is some cough medicine.
Yeah, no, seriously. Is for Ashaman 3000 for why you should always read multiple reviews.
I call him Tim, but he's a cool guy.
Why should you always read multiple reviews?
Because, Dead Space 3 is a perfect example. Tim Curry gave it 9.75, and
It's true.
other websites gave it a lot less than that. Some websites gave it close to what he gave it, but it was all over the place.
It's really
I
weird.
need a cough drop. It was all over the place. So, you should.
Oh, really? I thought most people gave it a pretty favorable review.
I think it has like a 79 on Metacritic.
Oh, interesting.
It got some 6s, some 7s.
Yeah, when I looked, it was at 82, but that doesn't mean it's not changed.
I could be wrong.
But, Tim's a passionate guy, and when he likes a game, he really likes it. I mean, he enjoyed Resident Evil 6, where a lot of people didn't. And,
Sure.
sorry, not Ashen Tim, specifically.
Well, I just think it's different tastes. Everybody has a different taste. And
I read multiple reviews.
Exactly.
Good job, Asherman. We agree. You get
Huzzoo.
Indian Mojo approval.
Stamp.
Yeah, 79 and 78 on Xbox and PS3, respectively.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's better than nothing. I wonder if some people punished it for the microtransactions, though. Just curious, somewhat.
I hope not. That's a bad reviewer if that's the case.
Love the first two, so I definitely got to get it. And to be fair, the second game had microtransactions. They just weren't in your face as much, so.
I also heard the first game had microtransactions.
I don't remember that as much. But the second game, you could buy all kinds of upgrades to your armor and to your weapons through DLC.
Mm-hmm.
It's a true story.
Okay.
So my Jacked Up Indian Mojo Show community shout out.
Shout out.
This will
Shout out.
the first. I've cheated a lot on this, but this one is going to be like a 6-in-1 shout out. I'm going to shout out Boom Shakalaka, 5 GIO bloggers who are on fire. Written by Saint, and he shouts out, among others, well, he shouts out Ashman, but Adam Woolley, David Chandler, Marco Polo, and Marcus1142 for all the blogs they've been writing lately that have been, for the most part, very good blogs. So, congratulations to those guys.
Hooray!
Yay!
See, on February 1st, there's only a few 30 and 30, or whatever, 28 and 28s going on this month, so. Not that I don't like the people doing them, but those things are driving me crazy. I've said that publicly before, so this won't be a first.
And this week, my Indian Mojo Show shout out goes to, I actually have two. One goes to Cameron Koch for the story of Griffball, just about a popular Halo type gameplay type in multiplayer, that and its origins, basically how you play it, and
Is there anything like Final Fantasy X?
No, I don't think so. It's one player carries a bomb and turns yellow, and he's essentially the Griff, and then one team of players tries to get the player who has the bomb to the other team's goal to set the bomb and explode, while the other team tries to stop them, and then do the same thing.
What's the name of the game they play in Harry Potter? That always makes me think of Griffin.
Quidditch.
Oh, okay.
So
you're thinking of Gryffindor.
Yeah, I know.
It's interesting. Go take a look. It really caught my eye.
David J. Holloway, also blogged about that this week, too.
Oh. Cool. Griffball always catches my eye because back in my college days, one of the guys who I was in always wanted to play Griffball. And for that reason, I just hated it. Like, I irrationally hate Griffball, but it's interesting to me anyway.
Ernie, I know the feeling.
And my other shout out goes to Kinsey for his continuing Part 8 of the Super Nintendo timeline. A couple Monster Hunters you may have heard of. And he basically, it's just quick reviews of different games in the Super Nintendo library, and he's going through the entire library in order, in chronological order, that they were released, both in Japan and the United States. And giving... Yeah, it's really impressive, and he's still at it, and this week, or in this installment of his series, he reviews Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Earth Defense Force, Super Castlevania 4,
For everything.
Bill Lambier's Combat Basketball.
Oh my god, I remember that.
John Madden Football, Paperboy 2, RPM Racing, and True Golf Classics, Waialae Country Club.
So what do you think is more of, which would be a harder task, doing that or doing the 1,001 games to play before you die that Saint's been doing?
I'm guessing there aren't.
To actually play them all.
Oh, to actually play them all? Well, I'm guessing 1,001 games would probably be more difficult.
Yeah, that'd probably be more.
I don't know. There's got to be at least 1,000 games released for Super Nintendo in Japan, and this.
Although that's the thing, the Super Nintendo, you're also not picking the best games, so you'd have to play crap.
That's true. Well, speaking of Super Nintendo, quick couple other shout-outs. Born for This and Warbuff are both painting their own custom Super Nintendos. I think that's a pretty cool project they got going on.
Yeah, that is cool.
I think that's pretty cool, too. I think they should make a little business out of that.
I think
probably make
so. Yeah, that's good.
They could make some good money off of that, I'm sure.
I also think the best quote I've heard in the last couple of weeks, but maybe not a direct quote, is Dean referring to having a second child as a project. I think that's amazing. Good job, Dean.
That's funny.
It is. Well, fellas, it's been quite the long show. I don't know if there's a whole lot more to talk about. If so, I'm going to go to bed.
So that was the show. That was quite a show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back.
In a row. Woohoo!
I know, right? Look at us. Woo. We're consistent. For 2 weeks.
I don't think that's happened since like October with all three of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. We should make bets on what's going to happen next week. Hopefully you'll come back next week and hear us with our cool guest. I'm Indy Jones with Jeremy Brown and Jack Gardner, and my throat can't talk anymore, so you stay classy, Game Informer.
Thank you for stopping by. Please donate.
I love Robin Sachs.
Aww.
Aww.
He's a cool guy.
Ride 'em, cowboy.